Joey McGuire and crew have officially signed one of the best recruiting classes in Texas Tech program history, including the likes of the first ever 5-star recruit in Texas Tech football program history in Micah Hudson. In today's video, we will discuss every signee for the Red Raiders from the high school ranks and the transfer portal and give some initial thoughts on this historic class for Texas Tech. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay in the know on Texas Tech football, not only on what's happening on the gridiron, but off of it as well. We will be having Texas Tech football videos all year long right here on the most engaging Texas Tech community here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. And hey, listen, if you like and if you're excited about what Joey McGuire and crew are doing, not only in the high school ranks, but in the transfer portal, smash that like button right now because we are going to run through every player that signed today for Texas Tech. And I'm telling you what, if you're expecting this video to go 10 minutes, you might be sadly mistaken. This might be a 15-minute for you, but like the video if you are excited about Texas Tech football and what they've done on the recruiting trail in terms of the high school and the transfer portal ranks. Let's jump right into it. We're going to have every commit down there in their 3-star or 4-star or 5-star ranking for 24/7 Sports. Let's jump right into it. And this is in the order that they committed in terms of Texas Tech and the graphics that they posted on social media. So bear with me that it's not an ABC order. We're going to start with Cameron Dickey, a 3-star running back. They call him Captain America, according to Joey McGuire. He actually played quarterback for his high school, and the reason being is this. They wanted their best player at the quarterback spot. He was their best player. Joey McGuire has actually compared him at points to Tahj Brooks. Now, high comparison in terms of what Joey McGuire did there, but if you watch him on tape, you can see some of the similarities. So he's a 3-star running back right there. Then you got Boss Collins. Yes, that is what he goes by. His first name is actually Isaiah, but he will go by Boss. He will be a corner for the Red Raiders in terms of where he will play early on. And looking at what he does, he kind of reminds me of Malik Dunlap, Rashad Williams, a long, lengthy, rangy corner that has really fluid hips. He's a guy that Texas Tech will like having back in the secondary. Then you got Tyson Turner, a 3-star wide receiver, a true track guy. I mean, this guy is arguably one of, if not the most athletic guy in this recruiting class. And you're going to hear me say that about a few guys because there is an argument for over a handful of guys that you could say that about in this Texas Tech recruiting class. He's going to be an outside wide receiver. He provides length. He's 6'3", about 185 pounds. He'll bulk up a little bit and play on the outside for the Red Raiders. Speaking of another wide receiver, it'll be 3-star wide receiver Lorenzo Johnson Jr. These are Joey McGuire's words. He is an elite punt and kickoff return specialist. He will play in the slot for Texas Tech, but he is a guy that could potentially make an impact early on the special teams aspects of things for Texas Tech, not only being a returner, but also a gunner potentially for that group. Next up, you've got Jacob Ponton. He is a 3-star offensive lineman, and he will be viewed as the left tackle in this bunch for Texas Tech. Out of the high school ranks, we'll actually talk about a guy that could be an instant impact starter. I talked about him in the previous video, but he is from the JUCO ranks. We'll talk about him here in just a second. But Jacob is from the high school ranks, and he, as I mentioned, is viewed as a left tackle. Then you got Eddie Ghost Smith, an edge rusher, a guy that has a lot of bend on the outside. He will be a force to be reckoned with and is a QB hunter there for the Red Raiders. I bring up the most versatile aspect of it and maybe the best athlete, and it can't go without stating Jacoby Williams, a 3-star running back in this one. Coach Perry actually won the argument, according to Joey McGuire, on where he was going to play. Jacoby Williams played everywhere for his high school, including quarterback, running back, wide receiver, DB, linebacker, you name it, he played it for his high school. He will be a running back for the Red Raiders and is arguably the most versatile athlete in this class. Next up, you got the big man up front, and Ellis Davis, a 4-star offensive lineman. He is filled with a mean streak on the field. And then Joey McGuire and crew say is one of the nicest guys off the field. He is a lengthy offensive tackle that is ranked in the top 10 of this class, and he has a chance to play early on for the Red Raiders on that said offensive line. Lubbock Cooper grad Holton Hendricks is next up. He is a 4-star offensive lineman, interior guy that has switched around. He's been a guy that has played center somewhat, guard, tackle. He's a versatile offensive lineman, but he will stay in the 806 to play his football and his collegiate career for Joey McGuire and crew. Charles Anderson, a multi-sport guy. There's a lot of them in here, but he is a really solid post-basketball player as well, but he will play at Texas Tech as a linebacker. Don't know where he'll play in terms of maybe edge, stand-up, outside. You don't know quite yet, but he is a guy to watch out for in terms of his athleticism. Another guy in this class in terms of I'm interested to see where he plays in his position group is Caden Long, the West Texas kid from Shallow Water. He played left tackle, but also has moved around on his offensive line, I should say, in high school. So he'll bulk up, see where he fits, but he's a guy that could be playing some significant snaps here in a year or two for the Red Raiders. A guy that I think a lot of Texas Tech fans want to see play significant snaps here in the near future, maybe not next year, but the year after, four-star quarterback Will Hammond. He is an Elite 11 finalist. He is a dual threat quarterback. I know on some sites that he's said to be a pocket passer. I don't think you can be a pocket passer when you ran for over 1,000 yards as a quarterback. I'm sorry. I just don't think you can be. And he's a guy that I really like, and I think you could see a different type of quarterback moving forward at Texas Tech, and Will Hammond might be the start of that for the Red Raiders here. Maybe not next year with Baron Morton on the squad, but as a sophomore or redshirt freshman, Will Hammond may be the guy. Oliver Miles, a 3-star DB. Solid athlete. I mean, just does everything for his team. Arguably one of the best track guys here. Just triple jump guy. Really just a stud athlete all around. He'll play DB for the Red Raiders. An all-around athlete is Trey Jackson, 3-star tight end. He's an offensive weapon. He'll be a tight end, but he played outside wide receiver in high school. Peyton Morgan, a 4-star free safety. That's the position he will play for Texas Tech. Again, free safety. He led the state of Texas with the most interceptions for a high school player with 9 this year. You got Ashton Hampton, another athlete. Didn't know what side of the ball he's going to play on, but at Texas Tech, he will be a corner. Then you got Cheddar. Man, that's a fun name to say. He's a top 100 player in this class, according to multiple recruiting services. Elite bend on the outside, great hands as well. He will be an impact player at the edge spot for the Red Raiders, maybe as soon as next year. Then you've got Malik, the money man, right? Could have played on either side. He's going to play at the safety spot for Texas Tech. And he kind of reminds me of Rabbit a little bit. So you'll see him a little bit bigger than Rabbit, though. He's a legit 6'1", 6'2", is Malik. He'll play in that secondary for the Red Raiders. Then you got Chandler Myers. He will be a wide receiver at Texas Tech. Could have played on either side, but he will play on the wide receiver side and play for Coach Juice. And then, obviously, the crown jewel of this recruiting class is Micah Hudson, a 5-star wide receiver. Instant impact guy. Would not shock me at all if he is the day one guy in the slot for Texas Tech. And Joey McGuire said he would even be surprised if Micah Hudson isn't an instant impact player for Texas Tech going into 2024. Then you've got some guys in Maurice Rodriguez. I mentioned him. He's the JUCO guy. I talked a little bit more about him on the previous video here on the channel. He has a chance to be the starting left tackle for the Red Raiders. Obviously going to be a competition, but he has a chance to do so. Then you've got a couple of guys in terms of a long snapper, the number 1 long snapper, an RV coming in here according to 24/7, and then on 3 as well. Then you got Adam Hill, a guy that actually won a state championship and was the offensive player of the game in that game. But he will play linebacker for Texas Tech because, in Joey McGuire's words, you got guys like Tahj Brooks and others in there. They want to see what he can do early on. And then you've got Jackson Hildebrand as well, versatile offensive lineman. Now, when you look at everything in terms of the rankings for this 2024 high school class for Texas Tech, it's at the bottom of your screen right there. 24/7 currently has them ranked as the 22nd class in the country, first in the Big 12. You're going to notice the theme when it comes to first in the Big 12. 23rd on Rivals, first in the Big 12. On 3, 22nd in the country, first in the Big 12. This is arguably the best class in Texas Tech program history. That is debatable, okay? And when you have true difference makers on both sides of the football, whether that's the Micah Hudsons of the world, obviously he's the crown jewel. You got Will Hammond, you got Cheddar, you got Ellis Davis, you got Holton Hendricks as well. There is the potential for multiple impact players in this recruiting class earlier than maybe some people expect. Maybe not 2024 for some of these guys, but in 2025, you're talking about potentially 4 or 5 starters in this 2024 class for Texas Tech. And that's absolutely pivotal for the Red Raiders to take that next step. All right, speaking of taking that next step, you need to take that next step in your recruiting game. And when I mean recruiting game, I mean your T-shirt game, okay? head on over to homefieldapparel.com and save 15% with the code BACK212. Listen, I know the holidays are coming up. This promo is a little too close to Christmas, but if you get a gift card, maybe you can sneak a little hint in there to one of your in-laws or maybe your brother, sister, whatever it may be, parents. Go get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt over on homefieldapparel.com. I'm telling you, I've got that women's basketball vintage tee, arguably a top 5 shirt I own. That bomber jacket is absolute gas. I have multiple friends that have it, and you can save 15% on your new favorite Texas Tech apparel, whether that's a t-shirt, hoodie, jacket, sweatpants, you name it, they got it. Head on over to homefieldapparel.com and use the code BACK212 to save 15% off your entire purchase. All right, let's jump into the transfer portal aspect of this and the guys that have signed. And again, this is the order from the social media Texas Tech, and we're running long here. Let me know if you're still liking the video by simply like the video. And hey, let me know how long you watched in this one by giving me a timestamp. That'd be dope down below. But anyway, we got Jack Burgess. He is the punter from Weber State. Then you've got Jalen Conyers, a 4-star guy that is viewed by some recruiting services as a top 25 transfer portal target in the 2024 cycle. He's a tight end out of Arizona State. You got Caleb Douglas. I call him Caleb Payday Douglas. And then you got Jovan Jackson from Fairmont State. He'll play DB, maybe a secondary guy in terms of safety, corner, not too sure yet. I bet he ends up at safety, though. Then you got arguably the best wide receiver, or at least one of them, in this portal cycle, in Josh Kelly, the wide receiver from Washington State. Then a guy that just signed in Sterling Porcher from Middle Tennessee State. He has a chance to compete for the offensive tackle spot on that left side for the Red Raiders. And then you've got Davon Carter. He will most likely start at right guard for the Red Raiders in 2024. You got a guy in Davon Cromwell, who is a 2-time All-Canadian DB. Then you've got John Carlos Miller II, a guy that led the FCS in terms of yards per catch with 18.1 as a tight end. And then another guy that could potentially start at left guard and most likely will, and Vinny Scurry from Toledo. He rounds out the portal list for the Red Raiders. Now, as for where it ranks currently for Texas Tech in terms of the guys signed, you've got 24/7 landing the Red Raiders at 6th nationally, 3rd in the Big 12 behind Colorado and TCU. Rivals has them at 5th, 3rd in the Big 12 behind Colorado and Arizona State. You're going to notice a pattern here, and then obviously that pattern is ruined by On3, but they have the Red Raiders still with a really solid transfer portal class, ranked 12th nationally, 2nd in the Big 12, only behind Dion's squad out there in Boulder. But, I mean, when you look at what Texas Tech has done, not only in the portal, but in the high school ranks, there are guys in both of these classes that could be pivotal players as soon as 2024 for Texas Tech and really lay that foundation and fill that gap in terms of talent level between the starters and the depth. That is what Texas Tech has needed the most in terms of to really decrease that gap from the starters you have to the bench players. And now they're slowly starting to do that. And it's going to pay off big time, I think. Also, before we get out of here, got to give a huge shout out to the scouting department for Texas Tech in terms of James Blanchard, Brian Nance, Jake Pittman. I'm forgetting someone else, but shout out to those guys. They've done a phenomenal job at really laying the foundation and recruiting for Texas Tech and allowing them to go out and get some real speedsters, athletic playmakers that are versatile on both sides of the football that will have big impacts for Texas Tech moving forward. And if you're excited about what they're doing on the recruiting trail and what they've done for 2024 going into that season, just simply like the video. That's it, man. Just simply like it. And if you want to stay in the know more about Texas Tech football all year long, not just during the season, we're keeping you up to date in the off season as well, as we're firmly in it right now. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech football right here on the most engaging Texas Tech YouTube channel. Of course, I'm talking about the Back to 12 podcast channel.